All right, good morning, everybody. Appreciate you being here. You excited to get ready to start spring ball here on Monday? Just wrapped up our winter program, with the annual swap party. Thought it was a great morning. Seeing our team, all in there together, celebrating each other's accomplishments. Some good weight that was thrown around, and we've really maximized the previous 8 weeks, in the winter program with tour of duty workouts, walkthroughs, meetings, installation. I think our coaches have done a really nice job in their preparation. Our players have done an extraordinary job in utilizing just a remarkable facility that we have. All the things as you go through 2 years of sacrifice, of field space, of construction, of all the things that we've kind of had to work through to be able to be in that facility is truly special. And just the efficiency of time, the amenities that our guys have, I would say that they've probably increased anywhere 30 to 50% amount of time that guys are in the facility, just even when not required. And that's something that we'd say it's a compliment to them, to the extra work that they're doing, the ways that they're utilizing the technological resources, a lot of the player space that they have. I think that's all been really good. We've seen some great physical development in guys. Guys, obviously with more than 25 freshmen that have early enrollees that are here. We've had a good number of transfers that have joined the program as well, and so guys at all different stages. But you really feel their work and some of the positive changes to their bodies since they've come through, and then you see guys that are that have been within the program, that had a little bit of understanding, of confidence of what to expect through the off-season workouts, and I think that showed up really well. Great leadership, guys that are really taking a lot of ownership in what we're doing, how we're doing it, and you see it in the work that they put up into this point. But excited to jump into the spring. We're definitely ready to start practice. I think the guys have done all that they needed to do to get to this point, and now we have 15 practices to go get better, to establish the identity of what we want this team to be through the work here in the spring. It won't be the end of the book here in April, but we will. It is a very important chapter, and for what we do to continue to build upon the foundation is going to be critical. But I like what I see from this team so far. I think that it's a team that really does embrace and embody the work. With all the different factors that you see in college football. One thing I'd say about this team is it's a team that you feel their hunger, and there's definitely a purpose behind every day that they've showed up, and when you see that within their work and just all that they've been able to do. And so I'm really proud of them for this winter program. Grateful for the staff, Coach Storms and his group, Jaden and nutrition, Slick and athletic training. All the people, Jason and the managers and the time that they spend in helping prepare all things for our players. Just very grateful for that work, and ready to get out on the football field.
All right, first question will be Corey over on your right.
Unlike the last 2 years when you had Tommy come in and DJ come in, it seemed like they were penciled in as starters. Is there a difference this year with Ashton coming in that Kevin Sperry has shown something? I think you guys really like him. Is this going to be a legitimate, the best man win quarterback battle?
I mean, it's going to be, across our football team, it's going to be best man will play. And that's, I think we have big expectations for Ashton on what you bring a guy in that has experience that's, at this point of his career, there are high expectations for what that needs to look like. Kevin's been here for a year. Really proud of him and his growth, his progress. But absolutely, this is going to be every day. I want to see guys challenged to go be the best that they can be, and who's going to, lead in production when they step on the field. You have 10 other guys that are playing, better because of what they do and the position that we put ourselves in. And so, like I said, I've got very high expectations for Ashton, and he's got to go, be all that I know he can be. Same thing with Kevin, and you know, I think it's going to be a fun. That position specifically is going to be a fun one to watch. You know, because they're very talented young men that you can feel their presence within this football team. You know, already. You know, especially Kevin being young. You know, and Ashton obviously just starting here in January. So definitely looking forward to you know, the battle that's ahead. But you know, but across the board, to answer the question, that's what it's going to be at every position. And you know, we've got guys that are returning that have good experience. You know, you look at the defensive front. I think 4 of the top 6 guys on the defensive line return. And got an opportunity that when you look at the production, you look at what these guys are doing. But I mean, there's a great push, and I'm really looking forward to that group. Same thing at linebacker, defensive backfield. Offensively, the receiver position is one that we're returning some really talented and productive guys, but also. And that's been a fun group to watch this offseason. And I mean, you talk about speed, explosiveness, guys that bring some playmaking ability. I mean, running back room is going to be one that I think's got can be great strength. And I mean, I don't think I ran through every position now, but I mean, like I am excited about this group, and you got to show up on a daily basis, and you got to continue to push and produce.
All right, come to Brendan over here on your left.
We haven't gotten to talk to you since Coach Malzahn retired. I guess one, you taking it back over as a play caller, excitement level for that, I imagine you would have, and then 2, just the timing with Coach stepping down. Does that impact, or did that impact? I mean, would that have impacted, I guess, hires, personnel, anything if it had been a different timing?
I mean, obviously grateful for everything that Gus poured into the program. Obviously, going through. Going through the year, going into this off season, there's some. I know it was a tough choice, but it was the right choice for him and what he felt for him and his family and for all that he's done. But when you look at the guys that we have, I'm really excited about the group and the guys that they fit what we want to do, and they fit and I believe that the versatility and the things that we're capable of will fit the skills and the strength of our players. And and I am excited. I'm excited to be back in the room. Obviously Tim Harris has done say in the last more than a month period of time. I mean, really has done an outstanding job of putting his stamp on this offense, and being able to the way that he pushes challenges, lifts up guys. I mean, he's a tremendous leader of men. He's been in this position before, and I mean, it was a very seamless transition for us. And as we move forward, to be able to do this together with finding the best combinations of what this is going to fit for our team. And I've going into my 11th year as a head coach. I think 7, 8 years. I've been the play caller and doing that, something that we've had success with. And I think with some of the enhancements within our personnel department, being able to bring John, being able to bring Taylor into the program, and some of the additional personnel, it really allows me the opportunity to where I feel I can put everything I have into the task that's at hand, and knowing that there's ownership in every one of those other areas with a well-equipped and very talented personnel staff that we have now. And so really looking forward to how all of it comes together. But yeah, I mean, I'm having fun and doing what one of the things I really love to do.
We'll go to Ira over on your right.
With some new coaches, as you mentioned, but then also Ernie and Austin getting elevated, and 50+ new players, and can you talk about the newness or the energy, what you've seen from this whole team in terms of not just the players but the staff?
Yeah, no, I mean, we've really been able to bring in a wonderful group of leaders, men, the different and not just the on the field coaches that doing that. I mean, some of the support staff. I think we got a really good group, and it is you do feel their energy and the excitement and the opportunity that's here at Florida State to be able to leave their mark within this team, to be able to support the staff that has been here. Some guys are in different roles, new responsibilities, so you definitely feel the energy that they're pouring in. But I mean, it's a talented staff, and it's one that's, you know, they're led from their heart. And I mean, you see that in the relationships that are building with our players. I think I think I said it in the intro, but like, I love the dynamic of what this team is. I mean, they're a group that really, I mean, you see, it's one thing to have relationships. The guys can go out and they can go eat together, they can have fun and enjoy, you know, being college students together. But it's another thing when you see them embracing that time together through the work. And, you know, just see them around the facility together, to see guys. I mean, I'll walk in 6 o'clock in the morning, you get guys in the meeting room, you know, just players sitting there watching film and going through, and like, that gets me excited, because yeah, they're building relationships. I mean, you know, they're here, you know, bright and early, and you know, they're making the sacrifices, not just to spend time together, but to spend time working together. And you know, some guys at the same position that are going to be challenging themselves for who is going to be, you know, the one, or who's going to be the guy in that room. But you know, they're pushing and challenging each other to lift each other up, because you got to have more than one, and you got to be able to have guys that are investing that time. And you know, I think that is something that's inspired by the staff, but it's also something that the personalities of people that are within the program, that they're taking a lot of ownership in, and they embrace that. So it's been fun to see all the different dynamics when it comes to that.
Go over here, second row to Matt.
Hey Mike, you mentioned the enhancements in the personnel department a couple minutes ago. Can you elaborate on that? What have kind of been the early impacts that they've had for you?
Well, I mean, I think that, you know, you see, you know, with the staff, there's so many different layers when it comes to recruiting now. And I mean, you've got the evaluation process. You know, it's college football is different. You know, much more different now than it's ever been. You know, it used to be, hey, let me evaluate the players, and hey, this guy's we feel are good enough to help us win, and let's go recruit them. Now it's not just the evaluation of saying, hey, is this guy good enough to help us win at Florida State? It's, well, how much are you willing to invest in that, you know, player? And so you're putting a value beyond just, you know, the desire of coaching. And then, you know, in today's age, there's a lot of different, you know, I guess scopes of what people are operating with and how they're doing it. So it's you have to, the number of players that you work through, the number of, you know, guys that need to be evaluated, you know, the different, you know, relationships. You know, it's not always, hey, I'm just building a relationship with the kid and the family. Well, now, all right, well, who's the agent that's representing them, and then that part of it. So there's a lot of dynamics that surround, you know, the recruiting process and the evaluation process. And I think we've got a great group that you know, has come together. You know, I think also part of it, you know, and especially specifically John and Taylor, you know, they came in, you know, a week before, you know, the transfer portal, and you know, as we're sitting there, you know, moving forward, it's one thing to see, hey, who can we bring into the program, but it's not just talent acquisition. It's about making sure you're putting together the best team, and that you know, when you are, you know, looking to invest into different positions, that it all works together, and that you know what is on your roster. You know, you obviously know the areas where you want to continue to enhance, you know, with might be position, depth, experience, whatever those things are. And so being able to expand the personnel department was something that was important, something we've talked about for, you know, years, to be honest with you. And you know, to be able to get that done, and then with the great leaders that we've been able to bring into the program to help, you know, just, you know, take ownership and support, you know, the people that have been here. I mean, I think that's really allowed me, you know, a lot of, you know, flexibility to get back to doing what I'm doing now.
We'll go over to Jerry on your right.
Coach, you talked about Jaden Daniels and the competition that will be there with Kevin Sperry.
Ashton.
But can you talk to us a little bit about Sperry and what you guys have seen since he got here?
Yeah, I mean, he's a talented young man. You know, that he's a tremendous worker. You know, I love, you know, just, you know, since he's got here, he's one of those guys. You know, even last year, that he probably spent as much time, you know, in the facility, you know, studying, preparing, you know, doing the things that I think are necessary. You know, not being the starter, but he was preparing himself. You know, I think that, you know, he has all the components that you want You know, and he's excited for the opportunity. I mean, even him, you know, throughout the offseason, you know, he cares a lot about being a Florida State Seminole. And, you know, it's really, I mean, he reached out to multiple former players just to talk about, you know, their experiences, you know, some of the things that, you know, as he's going through and you know, being able to put on that helmet, you know, some of the things that, you know, especially playing that position, you know, what are those, I guess, critical components within the culture and from the past players and those different dynamics. And I mean, that's something he did on his own. You know, we always have an open door for past players to come back, and, you know, as they come in, you know, I love seeing that. But when you have players that are initiating that, I think it speaks to the man. And, you know, Kevin is, you know, got a great heart. You know, he's got a lot of work in front of him, and, you know, he's going to experience, you know, all things of being a college player, the ups and downs. I mean, that's all part of it. But I mean, he's built the right way, and you know, to see him, to see Ashton, and really, you know, seeing those two guys, how they are working together and being able to help, you know, push and challenge each other, because, you know, that position's it's a wild one, and you know, I think both of them have done a really nice job and made up about the right things.
Come over here to Chris.
Last season, running back position saw a great deal of rotation. As you guys built that room out for this season, was the intention to have it a little bit more top heavy and focused on one, maybe two guys at most?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at last year, that was one of the things that, you know, there was a lot of competition in the room, and, you know, it was not necessarily by desire the way it played out, but it was something that it played the way it played. And, you know, one of the things I challenge guys coming in, you know, coming back, you know, is that, you know, we need you to go be, you know, what you desire to be and what this football team needs. And I'd say, you know, Coach Martin has done an outstanding job here, you know, in the first, you know, couple months of being here, of just, you know, really, you know, challenging that group. I mean, I think, you know, that's one of the positions where, you know, there's a lot of early mornings, a lot of late nights, where, you know, those guys are up here. I mean, they're studying protections, they're studying, and that's not something that, you know, it's them. They're utilizing technology. They're coming in there doing it on their own. You know, I just watching, you know, that group under the squat bar was really, really impressive. I think we had multiple. I think we had, you know, 4 running backs are over 550, you know, on the squat. You know, a couple of them pushing 600. I mean, it was really, it's an impressive group. But it's also, you know, within this offense, and specifically, you know, really more to what I've done, you know, throughout the years. I mean, you know, there's gonna be plenty of times where you might see 2 backs, you know, on the field at the same time, and you know, if guys put themselves in a position where, hey, this is a personnel grouping that you see, you see a competitive advantage, or you know, utilizing what they do. But yeah, I think we have guys that have, you know, the full potential to be, you know, lead, you know, workhorses within the offense, but also it's going to be highly competitive. And I don't think there's not many offenses out there, you know, across college football where you just kind of see just one. I don't think that's real, and just the physical element of the game. So you have to have multiple guys that can make an impact. And I think, you know, for us, especially just coming in, I mean, you got 3 guys who have done it, you know, at just different degrees. You know, they're on the field, and then some talented guys that are some talented younger guys that are continuing to push to kind of make their mark. But I am excited about what I believe that the ceiling and the top of what that room can be.
All right, next will be Liam, front row on your right.
You obviously brought in a lot of new faces, both on the staff and on the roster, but a guy that you bring back in Deuce, I mean, how valuable is he to this team, not just on the field, but as a locker room presence?
I mean, this football team has his DNA, and I say that as a great compliment, because, you know, I don't know. I mean, I've coached for 20 years of coaching. I don't know if I've been around any better, and I've been fortunate. You know, I've coached, you know, Campbell Award winners. I've coached, you know, All-Americans. You know, we've had, you know, the Warfel Award winner, you know, here in our time. I mean, we've been around some great players as well as, you know, just great men. And I mean, Deuce is somebody that, you know, his heart, the willingness to serve, you know, what he pours into his teammates, how he challenges himself. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to coach him for another year. I mean, he absolutely could have, declared and went and, he would play in the NFL next year if he elected to do that. But, he wanted, this year for him to be better. And I think you feel that in how he works, what he does, the urgency that I feel from him, in being the complete receiver. But, he's also not wasting days. There's no wasted day. If he's not in the facility, I mean, he's doing something, making an impact within our community. There's a couple weeks ago, I'm there, at the Capitol, with the Children's Literacy Weekend. I mean, he's out there reading to kids. I mean, this Monday night, he was there. I guess it was Monday. With the Horizons Unlimited, event that he had, and I mean, he's taken a part of that, for just helping impact our university and telling his story. But yeah, definitely a special young man, and I think his DNA is something that is felt because there's no hesitation. And I think it was one of the first days of story time, I guess. But I mean, one of the first days of our winter program. I was down in the weight room, and the newcomers were getting their introductory, just process of this is how we start, this is what we do. And they were in the IPF, which now connects to the weight room, and Deuce is in there getting work. And he heard, a response to a question. He didn't like it, or he didn't like the intensity of it. I'm saying, and he looked at me, and he looked at me. He said, "Coach, that's not good enough." I just looked back at him, and at that moment, he stopped and he went out there, and he made the point. He took he took a hold of the moment to say, you know what, this is what we desire and expect. And that was the very first week of the winter program. And I've seen him throughout that, not holding back to saying, well, hey, should I or not? No, if there's an opportunity to call somebody up, he's calling them up. There's an opportunity to be able to put himself out there, he's doing that. So, and what does that mean for him this year? I don't know. But I'm really confident the best Deuce Robinson is going to show up, and I'm very confident in what the results will be because of that. And so, yeah, he's had an incredible first 8 weeks, and we need him to have a great spring ball and summer, and he'll be one of the best players, I think, in college football. But I just need the best of him to show up.
All right, we'll stay on the right side and go to Matt on the second row.
In the past, you've had spring practices in the afternoon. This year, you switched to morning. What kind of went into that, and how does it affect recruiting and kids being able to come?
Yeah, that was probably the biggest thing in the decision to flip. So I went back and looked over the last 3 years of just the number of guys that we had coming midweek to come see practice, and how many of those guys were on spring break? What did that look like in comparison to I'd say the sacrifice in making a change, but it's a better work schedule for our players and how we can utilize the day, just in all honesty. So we're doing this because I think it's best for our players, coaches, staff, everybody in operation. The one hesitation I've had over the years is just because, just the availability of, guys being able to get here. For out of town players, I mean, really the majority of them were coming during their spring break anyway, so I don't, and even with our anticipated plans of these next 5 weeks, I'm not seeing any drop off for what it's going to be and having guys in midweek practices, because a lot of them are going to come during their off time for the midweeks, and then obviously we'll have some weekend opportunities. So, but I do think it's going to be best for our current players, and we've already seen some of the rewards from that and how we've been able to structure our days, for what the spring is going to be.
Come back to Brendan over here.
A little earlier, you were talking about the dynamics of roster building, how that keeps shifting. With retention, there were some examples of like prolonged retention and renegotiations, I guess. How did that impact, I guess, your ability to like move swiftly financially if there was negotiations involved? And then when that's happening, do you worry about culture or how that impacts the team potentially?
And I think what is perceived on the outside is not always the reality of the inside. And you talk about some of the early parts of the process, and then there are the situations where there's a process that whether it's kids, schools, everybody works through to kind of find the best situation, they're moving forward. And I do think that's a new age in college athletics, that, we tried to be as, advanced as we possibly could be, looking at some of those dynamics, but there's still, it's a new age. And so I felt comfortable with where we were able to land in a lot of those situations. But it is, when you're looking at the timeline of what resources you have and where those going to be dispersed. I mean, some of those things you just say, well, this is our priority. We have to focus here, and it's a willingness to say yes and also the willingness to say no. And that happened in a couple situations that at the end of the day, I think we were able to address the areas of need, address the areas where we needed added competition, and I feel good with the resources that we have where we've been able to kind of land.
All right, we'll go back to Corey on your right.
You talked about Gus and you taking over the play calling. Now, he didn't retire or step down during the normal coaching cycle. It was well past hired. If he had told you after the Florida game, I'm not going to do this anymore, I don't want to do this anymore, would you have wanted to take over then too?
It was, I don't, when it comes to coaches, there's not a year or a position that I don't have a plan. And, because at the end of the day, Tony Tokars I knew would be an offensive coordinator at some point. And however many years ago, Austin Tucker started working with the quarterbacks. And, it was, I've been around Austin. I know that the teacher, the talent, the skill, the way that he looks. I don't know what just happened. Okay, but there was always a thought. Now, and sometimes that situation is the right fit. Sometimes it's not. But I go into every year. If this was to happen, if that was to happen, then what would the plan be moving forward? And I'm grateful for Gus and what he did over the course of last year. I think it was something that was necessary for us at the time, and there was very few people that I would have done that with, but I felt with where we were staff-wise, where we were, some of the things that where I needed to focus my time in this new age, I thought it was a necessity. I could have somebody to come in and do what he did, and there were some really good things that we were able to accomplish. And I think there's also areas for us as we move forward where we get to continue to build upon some of the things we did a year ago and some of the guys that we have within this team, and I'm excited for that. And what makes it, Gus and I are different, but the foundation of it is the same. And that's where, and with there was never a talk with Tim Harris coming in of saying, hey, this might be. Tim made that the reality. And I saw the job that he did every single day with the wide receivers. I saw the way that he works. I saw the way that he impacts his players. I get to hear how he sees things and the different ways to attack, and that made that a very easy decision for me. I didn't need to go anywhere beyond that process, whether it would have been early, late. But I'm always going to have multiple thoughts because I don't want to ever be blind to a situation and say, well, this is just what I think you should do. If potentially it's not best. And with every decision that I've made, it's because I believe it is best. And it's best for where we are, who we have, how things all work together. And I'm excited about this staff. I'm excited about this team.
We have time for a couple more. We'll go to Peter, front row on your right.
Coach,
Microphone.
Coach, seeing the level of success from your freshman group, especially under the Desir twins, and seeing what the incoming freshmen that are going to be participating in the spring, like what is something that you would tell those freshmen just so they can get in the competition and work their way up being in that rotation?
Yeah, I think you look at last year, we had 19 freshmen that played 4 more games, and some guys that started with freshman All-American. Usmani played a lot. Boggs, even though he dealt with some injuries, played a lot. You saw guys that were able to come in and to be able to make an impact early. And the thing I challenge them with is you've got to be willing. So it's not just the physical. And to be honest with you, probably the physical is the least of the things that put guys in position to be able to play. It is the mental. It's the mental makeup, the mental maturity, the understanding of what you're being asked to do, and then applying the techniques of how to do it. That's where I think so many freshmen are where it's challenging for them to play early. But, you know, also I think when you look at early enrollees, when you see guys that are able to come in and have a spring practice that does help with that transition. But like Usmani, he came in June last year. He put himself in a position to have a chance to play, and you know he was productive. You know, was he a finished product last year? Absolutely not. You know, and there was some good and there's some bad, and but he's opened the door to be able to go from a freshman who was able to play to really I think have, you know, an exceptional future. You know, but it's the same for all these guys coming in. We got some really talented guys in this freshman group, and I mean it doesn't take long to sit there and, you know, watch them in a workout, to see to hear them talk in a meeting, to see them transition that to a walkthrough. I'm like, all right, this kid, you know, he's got a real shot. But I mean, you know, we had multiple guys that came in the summer that were able to do that. But I feel with a kind of expansive, you know, early enrollee class, I mean, I've got some big expectations for guys, you know, to come in and be able to make an impact.
All right, last one will be Chris.
According to the spring schedule, it doesn't look like there's a spring game. Why the decision not to have one?
Well, I mean, I think, you know, when you look at spring games, I mean, and I'd say probably across the country, that's probably a more common theme than what of not having a spring game than what it was ever before. But there's a lot of different dynamics with that, and you know, we get 15 practices. You know, I want to be able to maximize every one of those practices, building to, you know, what's going to show up, you know, game one, you know, here for this fall. And you know, I think that with, you know, a lot of the you know, just the scope of what spring games were or showcases were. You know, you would have a practice where you wouldn't show much, you wouldn't do much, you would, you know, you get to some, you know, certain points where you're probably holding back on one of those days that because you don't want to show too much for your first opponent or who you're going to play. You know, there were some elements that you know, probably just were almost unnecessary. I understand you know, fans want to be here. You know, it is an experience. But when you look at, you know, the process of this team growing, of being, you know, all that we can be, I mean, we're going to capitalize on, you know, getting three full scrimmages, and you know, where there's going to be what we want to do and what we want to be. We're going to see what that looks like, and you are limited with the amount of, you know, things that you can do. You know, just the number of padded practices, the number of you know, scrimmage days. So you know, being able to capitalize on all those with no you know, self-imposed restrictions are things that I think will be good. You know, and like I said, I'm excited for this team that's ahead, and you know, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that, you know, when we get here this fall, that this team is you know, trained and ready to go be everything I know that they can be. And so you know, we're going to utilize every one of those days this spring to make that happen.
All right, thank you, Coach.